Gentleman yields back. We will have another round. I now recognize myself for 5 minutes of questions. Thank you all for being here today. Back again, I guess. In my submitted comment to former CISA Director Easterly on the CIRCIA notice of proposed rulemaking, I highlighted that Congress did not intend for CISA to subject numerous entities to its reporting requirements. Rather, Congress intended for CIRCIA to facilitate rapid information sharing, and that's not being achieved. So we're all here talking about it and what should happen with the future CIRCIA. Ms. Hogg said you said BPI you sent a letter saying withdraw and reissue the rule. Ms. Aronson, Mr. Mayor, you both said ex parte could be a way to do it. Schwartz, I'm sorry, I had to leave in the middle of your testimony, so I don't know what position you took. What was?
I'm with ex parte, yeah.
Ex parte. So do you believe, Ms. Hogg said, do you believe an ex parte could work? I understand. We have a timing issue, which is the problem under the law. There's a timing issue, and I'm not sure we could meet the timing that the law requires if we fully withdraw and reissue. Can an ex parte fix the issues that you're?
We would very much support an ex parte process. We asked for further engagement and never got it, frankly, through the process thus far. We believe that rule as proposed should not be implemented, and we would rather take additional time, and we are prepared to work with CISA and would like an iterative dialogue to make sure that we get this right. It's too important, and we stand ready. We want to see this be successful. So I think the stakeholder engagement, given the complexities of the issue here, we do need that. That rule as proposed, please do not implement that.
Mr. Chairman, I think that this committee can be very helpful in urging CISA to grant our request for ex parte starting tomorrow. If we can work with the agency and provide our expertise and information about how we operationalize incident reporting, that can be integrated into their rules in the fall. But if we don't have that possibility to engage with them, which they clearly rejected, time and time again we've made the request, I think this is going to go down a path that's going to be very problematic for CISA and extraordinarily burdensome and costly for our sector.
As you said in your testimony, this will be more harm than good here.
Yes.
Listen, I agree with all of you that this rule should not be implemented as currently presented. And if it was, I would lead the effort to CRA it. But it's good to hear that you all think an ex parte could work, because I want this to work. I know the ranking member and the former chair Clark all want this rule to work. This is a big focus of mine, a big focus of now Chairman Green's. I'm happy he was here today. Harmonization, making sure incident and information sharing happens in the correct way. So I want this rule to work, and I will be, following this hearing, I'll work with committee staff on both sides to make sure that we reach out to CISA. I know they just nominated a new potential director this morning. I'm excited to see. No, not you. But Mr. Planky, I think could do a very good job. I've met with him. Director Easley had very nice things to say about him. So I think they may be willing to relook at this and move into an ex parte. One of you mentioned something, and I want to go with this because we talk about harmonization and how agencies don't listen to you all. And one of you brought up the SEC rule, maybe all of you brought up the SEC rule, which I've been fighting, and we passed the CRA out of the committee, but because the Senate moves so slow, our time clock ran out over there. And I know the ranking member was also against the rule. One of you brought up the national security concerns. ONCD, I think, has national security concerns with that rule in your testimony. Can you speak to those, please?
I think
it might have been all of you that talked about it.
It may have been me who brought that up. So it's a perfect example of rules that don't add to security and, in fact, create vulnerabilities, as I mentioned. The bad guys, the cyber criminals, enterprises can manipulate the process of disclosure in ways that certainly were not intended and would not be helpful. So from a national security perspective, that particular rule, I'm not sure does anything to enhance our national security.
I would actually say it probably harms our national security. I think this is the challenge that we've kind of talked a bit about now here is you have independent agencies that are doing something within their narrow lane. And so for the SEC, they think that investors need to know this information. I think we would argue that investors aren't really utilizing this information. It's not helpful to them. It's actually putting them at greater risk. But because an agency continues to look without somebody at the top sitting across and exercising oversight to say, does this really make sense? Is it in the best interests of the nation? We wind up with a lot of these duplicative, overlapping, deeply harmful rules. So to the extent that Congress and this committee is ready to engage and help lead this effort, we do need an overall view to look at what is helpful versus what is harmful, and the SEC rule is classic of what is harmful at this point.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. And when I had Chairman Gensler in front of Financial Services, I asked him which was more important, investor knowledge or national, if investor information was more important than national security. He said no. So I think now it's time for the new SEC to look at this rule and correct it, because I've been told by people at CISA and industry that they've had to stop sharing information before, timely information, in order to comply with the SEC rule, and that is not good for anybody. I believe everybody who's been here for the first round is done, so we're going to start a second round of questions, and I recognize the ranking member from California, Mr. Swalwell, for his second round.
Great. Appreciate that, Chairman.